where we turn ordinary pocket change into extraordinary wealth. I'm thrilled you're here today because we're about to dive into a coin you probably have lying around somewhere, and it could be worth a mind-boggling $1.9 million. Yeah, you heard me right. One tiny copper penny from 1979 with a little D mint mark can put you in the Millionaires Club faster than you can say Honest Abe. Before you run to the couch cushions to start your treasure hunt, stick around because in this video we'll cover exactly what makes this penny worth more than some people's houses, how to spot it, and how you can cash in if you're lucky enough to find one. Plus, I'll share a personal story about the time I thought I'd hit the jackpot, only to have reality smack me right in the face. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's explore the incredible world of rare pennies. Alright, let's kick this off with a little background. The 1979 D. Lincoln Memorial penny was minted in Denver, hence the D mint mark. In case you're wondering, that mint mark is right under the date on the front, to the right of Abe's chest. It's a tiny little letter that makes a huge difference. Now, millions and millions of these pennies were produced, literally over 4 billion. So you're probably thinking, how on earth could one be worth almost $2 million? Good question. The answer is all about rarity, condition, and mistakes that slip through the mint's fingers. Some 1979 D pennies have unique errors or features that make them ridiculously valuable. We're talking about things like where the design is stamped twice, slightly offset, giving the date and letters a double look. When the coin wasn't lined up perfectly during minting and part of the design is missing. Coins that were never circulated and have absolutely no wear, graded MS68 or higher. Combine any of these features, especially in pristine condition, and you have a coin that collectors will fight over like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. Let's talk about the star of the show, the $1.9 million specimen. This particular penny was discovered by a collector who had an eagle eye and a little bit of luck. It's a near-perfect example, graded at the very top of the scale, and it also had a highly unusual die error. That one-of-a-kind combination made it worth more than most Ferraris. I know it sounds unbelievable. I mean, it's a penny. But here's the thing, coin collecting, or numismatics if you want to get fancy, is all about scarcity and demand. If only one or two coins have a specific error, and there are enough collectors who just have to have it, the price can go through the roof. Let me tell you a little story about the time I thought I'd found my retirement plan in the form of a 1979 D penny. So there I was, going through my old coin jar that had been sitting in my closet since the 90s. I just watched a documentary about rare coins and thought, hey, why not check? Sure enough, I spotted a shiny 1979 penny with that little D mint mark. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my magnifying glass, yes, I have one, and squinted so hard I thought my eyeballs were going to fall out. I compared it to photos online. The date looked a little funny. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd found a double die error. My mind was already planning what I'd do with $1 million. Maybe buy a house in the mountains, or finally get that espresso machine that costs more than my car. Circulated, minor scratches, no significant error. Value? 1 cent. That's right. After all the anticipation, it was worth exactly what it said on the front. It was still a blast hunting for treasure. And that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every penny could be a lottery ticket in disguise. Check, in God we trust, liberty, and the date. If you see any doubling or shadowed letters, that's a big red flag in a good way. If the image is shifted and the rim is thicker on one side, that can mean value. Most 1979 pennies are copper. But if you suspect yours was struck on a leftover blank from another denomination, that's a massive error. If it feels unusually light or heavy, get it tested. If you think you have a winner, you'll want to send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it and give it an official grade. That's what makes serious collectors willing to pay big bucks. Now, let's talk about the market. You might be wondering, are people really paying $1.9 million for a penny in 2025? The answer is yes. Just last year, a pristine error specimen sold at auction for over $1.8 million. Interest in rare coins has skyrocketed as people look for alternative investments and tangible assets that hold value. So the market is hotter than ever. If you do end up selling a rare penny, here's my tip: don't just walk into your local pawn shop. They probably won't recognize how special it is. You want to go through a reputable auction house or a certified dealer specializing in high-end coins. That's how you get top dollar and avoid getting shortchanged, literally. Even if yours isn't the $1 million unicorn, there are still examples of 1979 D pennies worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. So check carefully and don't get discouraged if your first find isn't the jackpot. Alright folks, let's wrap this up. Today you learned that something as ordinary as a 1979 D Lincoln penny could be a treasure worth $1.9 million. We talked about what makes it rare, how to spot the special features, how to get it graded, and where to sell it if you find one. I also shared my little adventure in coin collecting, proof that whether you find a fortune or not, the hunt itself is half the fun. Not if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss another tip on coins worth serious money. I'm always researching new finds, strategies for maximizing your profits, and stories that will inspire you to check every piece of change before you spend it. Check those penny jars, peek under the car seats, and raid your piggy banks. Your next trip to the grocery store could be funded by a single, tiny copper coin hiding in plain sight. Or we turn pocket change into potential fortune. So, grab a comfy chair and maybe a snack because today I'm about to blow your mind with a little copper coin you probably overlooked. Imagine this: you're digging through your car's cup holder, brushing aside a stale French fry, and you spot a shiny 2017 D Lincoln penny. You shrug and think, it's a penny, but what if I told you that humble little coin could be worth a cool $1 million? Stick around, because today we're going to uncover exactly why this coin is so valuable, how you can check if you have one, and how I personally almost threw away a small fortune without even knowing it. And if you love the idea of living large off spare change, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my money-making coin tips. First things first, let's break down what makes the 2017 D Lincoln penny so special. This is not just any penny. It's from the Denver Mint, hence the little d under the date. Now, most 2017 D pennies are worth exactly what you think, 1 cent. But, and this is a big but, there are a few extremely rare examples with crazy mint errors or unique striking qualities that collectors are absolutely drooling over. First up, condition is everything. I'm talking about a coin so clean and shiny it looks like it was minted 5 seconds ago. These are called MS-70 coins, mint state 70, and they're basically flawless. Not a scratch, not a smudge, not a speck of dirt. Imagine a penny so pristine it makes other pennies feel insecure. If you find one in this grade, you're in business, but the real jackpot is in the errors. You know how sometimes you're at work and you mess something up but hope nobody notices? Well, when the mint does that, it can make you rich. Looks like Abe Lincoln has a shadow or 2 faces. It's like a ghost Lincoln haunting your coin. A big blob of extra metal, almost like the coin sprouted a tumor. Collectors love these mistakes because they're super rare, and rarity drives value. Now, let's talk about the sale that made headlines. One pristine 2017 D Lincoln penny with exceptional error details and a perfect grade was auctioned off for a jaw-dropping $1 million. You can imagine the look on the seller's face. Probably a mix between I can't breathe and I'm quitting my job tomorrow. First, look for the D mint mark under the date. Second, check the condition. Is it scratched? Dinged up? If so, it probably won't hit the $1 million mark. Third, look for errors. Grab a magnifying glass, yes, you're officially becoming that person, and check if Abe looks blurry, doubled, or if there's any weird extra metal. Fourth, weigh it. Some error coins have slight weight differences due to planchet problems. If you spot any of these features, get it professionally graded. Companies like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and grade your penny. That's the only way you'll get serious offers from collectors. Let me tell you a quick story. Last summer, I was cleaning out an old jar of change. You know, the jar you swear you'll cash in at the grocery store but never actually do? I started sorting through it, mostly to avoid mowing the lawn. Anyway, I found a 2017 D penny that looked surprisingly nice. I almost tossed it in with the rest, but something made me pause, probably the little voice in my head screaming, "Hey, dummy, you do coin videos for a living." So I got out my magnifying glass and, sure enough, it had a tiny doubling around the date. My heart was pounding like I'd just run a marathon, except, the only marathon I ever run is on Netflix. I sent it off to be graded, and while it wasn't the $1 million coin, it came back worth about $3,000. Not bad for something that could have ended up buying a gumball. So take it from me, never underestimate your change jar. Get it authenticated and graded by a reputable grading company. Research recent auction prices so you know what to expect. Consider selling through a well-known auction house or a respected online marketplace for coins. Be patient. The right buyer might take a little time, but if you have the real deal, it will sell. Remember, the collector world is like a secret society of people obsessed with little discs of metal. If you have something they want, you're in for a nice payday. The humble 2017 D Lincoln penny that could buy you a house, a new car, and a lifetime supply of fancy coffee. The next time you find some loose change, take a moment to look closer. You never know if you're holding a hidden treasure. If you enjoyed this video and you're dreaming of striking it rich with your coins, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. I share all the secrets about coins worth serious money and the smartest strategies to turn your collection into cash. And hey, leave a comment below. Have you ever found a rare coin? Or are you going to run to your piggy bank as soon as this video ends? Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Welcome back to the channel where we turn pocket change into life-changing money. I've got a question for you. What if I told you there's a little brown penny, a 1949 wheat Lincoln cent with no mint mark, that could be hiding in your old coffee can of coins and it's worth a jaw-dropping $1.1 million today? Sounds like something your uncle would tell you after one too many beers at Thanksgiving, right? But stick with me because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why this humble penny is raking in huge money at auctions and how you might just be holding one yourself. Today, we're going to dive deep into the story of this 1949 Lincoln wheat penny, what makes it so valuable, how to spot the right one, and why the right buyer will pay you enough to retire early and buy that beach house you keep daydreaming about. So grab a cup of coffee, kick your feet up, and let's have some fun talking about coins that are literally worth more than some people's houses. The 1949 wheat Lincoln penny was minted after World War II, right during a time when the US was bouncing back from the war effort. Production was high, people were optimistic, and the mint in Philadelphia was pumping out billions of coins. But here's where it gets interesting. While millions of these pennies were made, a teeny tiny fraction came off the presses with incredible characteristics that collectors drool over today. Even though 217 million 1949 pennies were made, almost all were used, lost, worn out, or melted. Most ended up with scratches, dents, and the kind of wear you'd expect after decades rattling around in people's pockets and junk drawers. Literally just a few dozen were perfectly struck, carefully stored, and preserved in pristine, mint state condition. These are the coins that can sell for the big bucks. Think about it this way. You can buy a 1949 penny for $1 or $2 if it's all beat up. But if you find one that looks like it came straight from the mint yesterday, shiny, crisp detail, no scratches, that's where you hit the jackpot. Now, this is where it gets a little technical, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it simple. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the better the condition. The $1 million examples of this 1949 no mint mark penny are graded MS 68 or higher. MS stands for mint state. You open up an old coin folder and there it is, your 1949 penny with Lincoln's cheekbones so crisp you could grate cheese on them. That's a good sign you might have something valuable. At a recent auction, a specimen graded MS 68 red, meaning it kept its brilliant coppery red color, sold for $1.1 million to a private collector who probably has more money than sense, and honestly, can you blame them? If you've got everything else in life, why not spend $1 million on the shiniest penny you can find? So if you're digging through an old jar and you find a gleaming, cherry red 1949 penny, don't toss it in the Coinstar machine. You might be throwing away a fortune. There are folks out there who collect Beanie Babies, baseball cards, and comic books. But rare coins have something those collectibles don't. Each penny tells a story of the era it was made, who spent it, and how it survived all these years without ending up in a slot machine in Reno. That's part of why collectors go nuts over the perfect examples. Let me tell you about the time I almost threw away a coin worth thousands. A few years ago, I was helping my grandma clean out her garage. She had this old tin can full of pennies. I was about to dump them into a jar for the kids when one caught my eye. It looked newer than the rest. I took it to a coin shop just to check, expecting the guy behind the counter to laugh me out the door. Instead, his eyes lit up like he'd just seen Elvis walk in. Turns out it was a 1955 double-die penny worth over $5,000. After that, I promised myself I'd never dismiss an old penny again. That's why I'm telling you, take a second look at your change, gather up every old penny you can find. Search your junk drawers, piggy banks, sock drawers, and your grandma's sewing kit. Look for 1949 with no mint mark below the date. That's the Philadelphia issue. Check the condition. If it's bright red, no scratches, and you can see every detail, it's time to get it professionally graded. Use a reputable grading service. PCGS or NGC are the big names. Never clean the coin. Don't polish it, don't scrub it, don't even breathe on it too hard. Collectors want them untouched, listed at a major coin auction. Heritage auctions and stacks bowers are great options, and if you find one, please come back and tell me so I can cry with jealousy and joy for you. Everything you need to know about the 1949 no-mint Mark Wheat Lincoln penny that could transform your life in a heartbeat. Maybe you're thinking, it's just a penny. But remember my story, sometimes what looks ordinary can be extraordinary if you look a little closer. This is your sign to go dig through those old jars and shoeboxes. Who knows? You might be sitting on $1 million copper jackpot. If you enjoyed this video and you love the idea of finding hidden treasures in your spare change, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. I'll show you more coins worth serious money and the smartest ways to sell them without getting ripped off. Leave a comment below if you've got any old coins you're curious about. I love hearing your stories and helping you figure out if you're holding a fortune or just a fancy piece of pocket change. Where we turn pocket change into potential paydays. Today, I've got something that's going to make you want to run for your coin jar, your sock drawer, or even the cup holder in your car. You're digging through some old coins, maybe searching for enough change to buy that overpriced gas station coffee, and boom, you spot a 1991 Lincoln Memorial penny. You think, it's just a penny, and toss it aside. But what if I told you that little copper-colored disc could be worth up to $1.2 million today? Yes, you heard that right, 1 cent that could make you an instant millionaire. So grab a comfy chair, maybe a magnifying glass, and stick around because we're going to uncover everything you need to know about this rare 1991 penny, why it's so valuable, how you can identify one, and the best strategies to turn your coins into serious cash. Let's dive in. First, let's set the stage. The 1991 penny was minted in Denver. You'll see that little D mint mark right under the date on the front of the coin, just below Abraham Lincoln's chest. In 1991, the U.S. Mint produced billions, yes, billions, of pennies. So naturally, you might be thinking, how on earth can one of them be worth over $1 million? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Certain 1991 pennies have what's called an ultra-rare error. We're talking about a misstrike or a transitional error, something so unique, it turns a run-of-the-mill penny into a collector's holy grail. Imagine mint workers late on a Friday, probably daydreaming about nachos and football, and they accidentally used the wrong metal composition or the wrong die. That's how legends are born, and these mint errors aren't obvious to the untrained eye, but to a coin collector or grading expert, they're like a neon sign flashing, cha-ching. Some were accidentally struck on bronze planchets left over from the 1982 transition. If your 1991 weighs more than the standard 2.5 grams, that's your first clue. Look for doubling in Lincoln's profile or in the lettering, especially around Liberty and the date. If you spot this doubling, don't spend it at the vending machine. It could pay off your mortgage. Sometimes the coin is misaligned and you'll see part of the design missing. Collectors love these quirky mistakes. An unusually shiny, mirror-like surface on a regular circulation penny is another indicator of value. These rare traits are what send collectors into a bidding frenzy. If your penny has just one of these errors, you could be looking at a 6 or even 7-figure payday. Let me share a little story to show you how easy it is to overlook these treasures. A few years ago, I was helping my dad clean out his old fishing tackle box. You know, the one that smells like a weird combo of motor oil and stale jerky. Inside, there was a little plastic bag filled with coins he used for exact change at the lake store. I almost dumped them straight into the Coinstar machine. But something, maybe the universe or maybe just my caffeine buzz, told me to look closer. Sure enough, right in the middle was a 1991 penny that felt heavier than the others. I pulled out a scale, and it clocked in at over 3 grams, definitely not the usual copper-plated zinc. Long story short, it wasn't the $1 million variety, but it still fetched a few $100 from a collector. And it taught me a valuable lesson: always double-check your change. You never know what you're sitting on. Use a digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams. If it weighs around 3.1 grams, you might have a bronze planchet error. Look at the lettering under magnification for doubling. Bronze coins tend to have a richer, darker tone compared to the lighter zinc coins. If you see anything unusual, get it graded by PCGS or NGC. A slabbed, certified error penny will bring top dollar. As of this year, 2025, the highest price recorded for an error 1991 penny was just over $1.2 million. This happened in a private auction where two big-time collectors got into a bidding war. The coin had an absolutely flawless strike error and was one of only a few known examples. Most high-grade examples sell between $20,000 and $200,000, depending on rarity and condition. Even lesser errors or double dies have sold for thousands. Your spare change could literally be worth more than your car. Auction houses consider heritage auctions or stacksbowers if you have a truly rare piece. eBay works well for lower value errors, but big-ticket coins should go through professional auctioneers. One time, in college, I was broke and decided to pay for pizza with my change jar. I dumped about $15 worth of pennies and nickels onto the counter while the cashier looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Years later, I realized I'd probably spent a couple of old wheat pennies and maybe even an error coin or two. That pizza was good, but not that good. The fascinating world of the 1991 D. Lincoln Memorial penny and why it's worth up to $1.2 million. This little coin proves that treasures don't always have to be buried in a chest. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, jingling around in your pocket. Before you dash off to tear apart your couch cushions, do me one favor. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on finding coins worth serious money, hit that subscribe button. I promise to keep the info coming, from valuable coins to smart strategies to turn your finds into cash. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy hunting, may your penny jar be filled with hidden fortunes. And remember, next time you're tempted to spend your change on gas station snacks, take a second look. You might be holding the key to $1 million payday, where we turn pocket change into pure treasure. Now, before you shrug off that penny jingling around in your couch cushions, let me ask you this. What if I told you that a humble 1985 Lincoln penny with no mint mark could be worth a jaw-dropping $1.3 million? Yes, you heard me right. $1,300,000 for a single coppery little coin that most folks wouldn't bother to bend over and pick up today. We're going to dive deep into exactly why this 1985 no mint mark Lincoln cent is so rare, how to know if you have one, how the current market is going absolutely bananas over it, and how you can be the person who laughs all the way to the bank. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. And hey, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more wild stories of coins worth more than your house. Let's talk about why this penny is even worth this much money. I mean, it's a penny. It literally says 1 cent on it. But collectors see it differently, and here's why. The 1985 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial cent comes from the Philadelphia Mint. Now, most of these pennies were mass-produced by the billions. They were like the potato chips of currency, everywhere, cheap, and usually greasy from writing in people's pockets. But a tiny handful of these coins were struck under very unusual conditions, resulting in a special blend of misstrikes and near-perfect mint state examples. Exceptional condition, extremely low population, collector frenzy. Let's break each of these down, so you can see whether you might have $1 million penny sitting in an old piggy bank. First, the big money comes when the coin is in what's called MS68 red condition. MS stands for mint state, and the higher the number, the closer to flawless the coin is. An MS68 is so pristine you could practically see your reflection in Lincoln's bald spot. Most 1985 pennies have scratches, dull coloring, or a little corrosion. But the rare ones that were preserved right out of the mint and never circulated are bright, shiny, and absolutely perfect. That's what serious collectors want. Next up is rarity. While billions of these pennies were made, only a handful survived in this top-tier condition. Imagine you and a billion of your closest friends run a marathon, and only 5 of you cross the finish line without a scratch. That's what makes the MS68 1985 no mint mark penny worth so much. Finally, when the coin market gets excited about something, prices skyrocket. And lately, collectors have been going nuts over this specific year and mint mark combo. Auction houses have seen these pennies sell for more than $1 million. In 2024, a particularly stunning example set the record at $1.3 million, sparking renewed interest in the series. You'll see Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, Liberty on the left, and the date 1985 on the right. Under the date, you should see absolutely nothing, no D, no S, just blank space. That's what no mint mark means. Brilliant red luster is key. A dull brown penny will never hit $1 million payday. No scratches, dings, or fingerprints. If your coin looks like it just came out of a fresh roll, you're in business. This part is important. Have it authenticated and graded by a top company like PCGS or NGC. Without a grading certification, no serious collector will fork over big bucks. Now, let me share a little story about how I almost threw away a small fortune, because maybe you'll relate. A few years ago, I was cleaning out an old cigar box my grandfather left behind. Inside was a mess of pennies, nickels, and even a few silver dimes. I scooped it all into a plastic bag, ready to take it to the Coinstar machine. But something told me to check them first. Maybe it was my grandpa whispering from the great beyond, "Hey, dummy, look before you cash it in." Sure enough, in the middle of that pile was a 1985 penny, bright red and shiny like it was minted yesterday. My heart just about jumped out of my chest. I sent it off to PCGS and, wouldn't you know it, it came back as MS67 red. Not quite the $1 million mark, but still worth a cool $5,000. That experience taught me never to underestimate old coins. So don't assume that a penny is worthless until you know for sure that if you have an MS68 red example, you could realistically expect to get anywhere from $800,000 to $1.3 million at auction today. Even MS67 red examples regularly fetch tens of thousands of dollars. The coin collecting community has seen steady price increases over the last 10 years. And with the way inflation and collectibles are going, these numbers may only go higher. Tips for selling: research auction houses, heritage auctions, Stacksbauers, and great collections are trusted names. Take your time to understand the process. If someone offers you a quick cash deal, walk away. Once it's graded and certified, get insurance before you ship or store it. The 1972 double die versus the 1969 S double die, the 1995 double die versus all these can be worth thousands if the condition is right. Hunting for valuable coins is a lot more exciting than playing the lottery. At least with coins, you have something real in your hand. Only the ones in near perfect condition have serious value. Most are still worth 1 cent. It might have some value, especially if it's a strong red color, but don't expect millions. Absolutely not. Cleaning destroys value. Leave it as is. Under your car seat or rolling around your junk drawer could be the ticket to a whole new lifestyle. Imagine paying off your mortgage, taking that dream vacation, or just enjoying the satisfaction of beating the odds, all because you took the time to check a simple little coin. It's easy to dismiss pennies as worthless. But as we've learned today, sometimes the smallest things have the biggest value. So get out there, start hunting, and don't let anyone tell you that your spare change can't change your life. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss a tip about coins worth real money. Where old coins can turn into cold, hard cash faster than you can say Honest Abe. Today, I've got a story that will make you check your piggy bank, your couch cushions, and maybe your grandpa's junk drawer. Because we're talking about the unassuming little copper hero that could be worth a whopping $1.4 million. Yeah, you heard me right. $1.4 million. For a penny. Not a gold coin, not a silver dollar, not a pirate doubloon. A penny you probably spent on bubblegum when you were 6 years old. So buckle up, grab your coffee, and get ready to discover why this 1975 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is the tiny treasure everyone's hunting for. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, why it's so valuable, and how you might just be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Let's start with the basics. The 1975 Lincoln Memorial penny was minted in the United States, obviously, and it shows good old Abraham Lincoln on the front, facing right, looking very presidential and serious as always. On the back, you've got the Lincoln Memorial. Nothing fancy at first glance, right? Here's where things get juicy. Most 1975 pennies have no mint mark, which just means they were struck in Philadelphia. But there's something special about a few of them. These rare examples were accidentally struck on a bronze planchet with extremely crisp details and a flawless surface. Even more interesting, some have unique die characteristics that make them stand out, like doubling of the letters, a particularly sharp strike, or unusual coloration that collectors call red-brown or full red. Well, in 1975, all Philadelphia pennies had no mint mark. So the value here isn't about the mint mark itself, it's about the quality of the strike and the pristine condition of the coin. Think of it like baseball cards. A card straight out of the pack, never handled, perfectly centered, is worth a fortune. But the same card with a crease? Maybe $5. So if you come across a 1975 penny that looks suspiciously perfect, like it never saw the inside of a cash register, it could be worth serious money. One of these was graded MS68 red, the highest known grade for this year, and it fetched the jaw-dropping price of $1.4 million at a private auction. Just let that sink in for a second. Let me tell you a little story to make this more relatable. A few years ago, I was cleaning out an old jar of coins that my uncle had stashed away. You know, the kind, spare change from the 70s and 80s that somehow survived every garage sale. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a couple of wheat pennies worth $1 or $2. But I did find a 1975 penny that looked almost brand new. My heart about jumped out of my chest, thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd stumbled onto a jackpot. Spoiler alert, mine was worth about 3 cents. But the point is, you can't tell by glancing. You've got to check the details carefully. Point 1. The coin should have an incredibly strong strike, meaning the details are razor sharp. Lincoln's hair, the lettering, even the steps of the memorial should be clear enough to count. Point 2. It should have brilliant, original color. Collectors love coins that look fresh off the press. Point 3. No scratches, dings, or corrosion. Even the tiniest nick can drop the value from 6 figures down to basically nothing. And 4. It should be authenticated and graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. Without that certification, no serious collector is going to shell out $1 million. Let's talk about why collectors are willing to pay so much for a penny. Some people think coin collecting is about history or nostalgia. And that's part of it. But the big money comes from rarity and condition. When there's only 1 or 2 examples in near perfect shape, they become trophies, status symbols for the big players in the numismatic world. It's like owning a Picasso. Sure, it's a painting. But it's not just any painting. And this isn't just any penny. So, what's the current market doing? Over the past decade, prices for top-grade memorial pennies have been steadily climbing. A decade ago, this same coin might have sold for $500,000. Today? $1.4 million. Tomorrow? Who knows? But the demand for flawless, older coins is only getting stronger as more collectors get in the game. Now, before you start emptying your coin jars, let's set some realistic expectations. 99% of 1975 pennies are only worth face value. But there's always that one. That one hidden gem nobody notices until it hits the auction block and makes headlines. And of course, our 1975 MS68 Red Champion brought in that life-changing $1.4 million. That's why people love this hobby. Because sometimes, against all odds, you find a tiny disc of copper that changes your life forever. While you're rummaging around, remember, there are also error pennies from 1975 that can bring in thousands. Off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets all have collectors drooling. So even if you don't find the Holy Grail, you might still land a nice payday. Be cautious about cleaning your coins. You might think you're helping by scrubbing off the grime. But in the coin world, that's like taking sandpaper to a vintage Corvette. Cleaning can destroy the value instantly. If your penny looks suspiciously nice, leave it alone and have it professionally evaluated. And here's a little humor to keep this fun. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you sold a penny for over $1 million. Honey, I've got good news and bad news. The good news? We're rich. The bad news? You'll never be able to look at pocket change the same way again. Alright, folks, we've covered a lot today. From why this 1975 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny is so valuable, to what you need to look for, to the real market prices and stories that prove this is not just hype. If you've got old coins lying around, you owe it to yourself to check them carefully. You never know when you might have the next $1 million penny sitting under your nose. Sometimes it's the ordinary looking stuff that hides extraordinary surprises. So be curious, be patient, and never underestimate the power of a humble little coin. If you enjoyed this video, learned something new, or just like hanging out talking about rare treasures, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode, because we've got plenty more stories about coins worth serious money and smart strategies to find them. And if you've ever found a rare penny or have a coin story of your own, drop it in the comments below. I love hearing your discoveries, and you never know, your story might inspire someone else to go hunting. Hey there, coin hunters and treasure seekers. Have you ever held a penny in your hand and thought, just a cent, practically worthless? Well, what if I told you that this little copper beauty could actually be worth a jaw-dropping $1.3 million? Yep. You heard that right. Not a typo. 1 cent turned into over $1 million. And today, we're going to unravel exactly how the 2020 D Lincoln Memorial penny became the stuff of legends. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know what to look for in your pocket change and you might be able to turn your couch cushions into a down payment on your dream house. Or at least buy something fancier than instant noodles. Let's dive right in. The basics of the 2020 D penny. In 2020, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. These coins have Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the front and the Union Shield on the back. They're usually struck in zinc with a copper plating. On an ordinary day, a 2020 D penny is worth, well, a penny. But sometimes, something goes deliciously wrong in the minting process. Think of it like baking cookies. Every now and then, the oven gets too hot, you spill too much sugar, and you end up with something weird and unique. In coins, these weird cookies are called errors. This particular 2020 D penny has a rare double die obverse, meaning parts of the design were struck twice in slightly different positions. When you look closely, you can see doubling in Lincoln's eye and in the date. It was also struck slightly off-center, about 15%. The coin looks like it's leaning to the side, almost as if it's tired of holding up the economy. Graded MS-70, which is a perfect, uncirculated condition. Imagine a coin so fresh it basically glows. A private collector, who apparently really wanted to complete his collection, paid a record-setting $1.3 million for this single penny at auction. I know what you're thinking. That sounds more like a fairy tale than reality. But it really happened. Let me share a little story so you know I'm not just making this up from the back of a cereal box. A few years ago, I was at my grandpa's house, and he handed me this old coffee can full of pennies. He said, "Maybe you'll find something good in there." At the time, I thought he was just trying to keep me busy while he watched football, but I started looking through those pennies, hundreds of them, and found a 1972 double die cent worth a couple $100. That was the first time I realized coins could be real treasure. Ever since then, I've been obsessed. And if you're watching this, there's a pretty good chance you're at least a little obsessed, too. No shame, coin collecting is basically treasure hunting in your spare time. Use a magnifying glass. Look at Lincoln's eye and the date, 2020. You should see a clear doubling, almost like a shadow behind the numbers. Check if the design is slightly off-center. If Lincoln's head is almost sliding off the coin, that's a good sign. If your penny has scratches or wear, it probably won't be worth as much. The $1 million one was pristine. If you think you found a match, do not try to clean it. That's like washing a Rembrandt with a dish sponge. Instead, get it graded by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Some people think it's crazy to spend that kind of money on a penny. But collectors see coins as tiny pieces of history. And when you have a unique error coin, there may only be one or two in existence. That's rarer than almost any collectible out there. You could buy a Lamborghini or buy a penny. The difference is, the Lamborghini will lose value as soon as you drive it off the lot. The penny? That baby could just keep going up in value. In the past decade, rare modern coins have been exploding in price. Some 1999 pennies with white AM varieties sold for over $20,000. But the 2020 D error smashed all expectations. Never assume a modern penny is worthless. Especially if it's still shiny and a little bit weird looking. If you're inspired to start checking your spare change, here are some beginner tips. Keep a magnifying glass handy. Grab some coin flips or holders to protect anything unusual. Learn the difference between damage and mint errors. Watch auctions online just to see what's selling and for how much. Be patient. Coin collecting is like fishing. Most days you don't catch the big one, but eventually, you might reel in a monster. You might be the next person to discover a penny worth more than your house. Today, we talked about the humble 2020 D Lincoln penny. While most are worth only a cent, a perfect error coin sold for an astonishing $1.3 million. So next time you're digging through your pockets, pay attention to those little copper discs. They might look ordinary, but one of them could be your ticket to early retirement or at least an epic vacation. Remember, coins don't just have value because of metal or age. Sometimes, it's the imperfections that make them priceless. If you enjoyed hanging out and learning about this incredible penny, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, tap the little bell icon so you don't miss future videos, and give this one a thumbs up. I post weekly guides on how to spot rare coins, strategies to sell them for top dollar, and stories that'll inspire you to keep searching. Leave a comment below telling me about the coolest coin you've ever found. Or the weirdest one. Or even the one you accidentally spent at the grocery store. No judgment, we've all been there. Hey there, coin hunters and future millionaires, welcome back to the channel where we turn pocket change into life-changing fortunes. Today, I've got a story that might just have you sprinting to your sock drawer, your junk drawer, and maybe even that old coffee can in the garage. Have you ever looked at a penny and thought, nah, it's just a penny? Well, hold on to your seat because the 1993 no-mint mark Memorial Lincoln penny could be your ticket to $1.4 million. Yeah, you heard that right. One little coppery coin that everyone ignores, but if you find the right one, you're talking a cool million plus in your bank account. Stick around because I'm going to break down exactly why this penny is worth so much, how to spot it, and what you can do to cash in. I'll also share a personal story about the time I almost threw away a coin that could have paid off my mortgage. So grab a cup of coffee, kick back, and let's dive into the wild world of the 1993 Lincoln penny. Most pennies minted in 1993 are exactly what you'd expect, copper-plated zinc coins worth a cent. But a rare batch escaped the mint with certain striking errors and exceptional qualities that collectors crave. Some have dramatic die errors, some have double die obverse features, and a few are in such pristine condition that graders have awarded them the highest grades possible. When you combine scarcity, flawless condition, and a collector market that's always hungry for the next big find, you get prices soaring to over $1.40 million. First, check under the date. You'll see no mint mark at all. That means it was minted in Philadelphia. But just being from Philly doesn't make it worth seven figures, so don't go cashing in yet. Point one of the major error types is the double die obverse. Look closely at Liberty and the date. If you see clear doubling, like a ghostly shadow behind the letters or numbers, that's a jackpot clue. If your penny has never been circulated and has a mirror-like surface, it's in what collectors call mint state. Top grading agencies, like PCGS and NGC, rate coins on a 70-point scale. Anything above MS65 is getting rare. If you hit MS69 or even a perfect MS70, your penny could be worth hundreds of thousands, or even that million-plus mark. Other valuable variations include off-center strikes, broad strikes, and die cracks. If your coin looks weird, don't dismiss it as damage. Sometimes that weirdness is exactly what makes it valuable. Meaning the bright, fresh copper color that hasn't dulled, are worth more. Brown pennies, the ones that look like they've been in your pocket since the Clinton administration, can still be valuable if they have the right error, but the luster counts. About 10 years ago, I was helping my grandmother clean out her attic. She had jars of pennies, like gallons of them. I was about to take them all to the bank when she said, "Why don't you check if any of those are worth something?" I laughed. I thought she was just trying to distract me from cleaning. But she insisted. So I dumped them out on the dining table and started looking. I didn't know much then, but I knew that old wheat pennies could be worth a few bucks, and wouldn't you know it, there was a 1993 no-mint mark penny sitting there, bright red, looking fresh as the day it was minted. I shrugged and tossed it back in the jar. Fast forward to last year, when I finally got into serious coin collecting. I remembered that shiny penny and wondered if it could have been one of these ultra-rare specimens. Of course, by then, the jar was long gone. Moral of the story, never assume your pennies are worthless. Let's get into some practical tips so you don't repeat my mistake. Step 1. Get a magnifying glass or, better yet, a jeweler's loupe. The finer details are impossible to see with the naked eye. Examine the date and Liberty for doubling. If it looks blurry or doubled, set it aside. Weigh it. Standard 1993 pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. If it weighs significantly more, you might have a rare transitional planchet error. Compare it to photos of known errors online. Sites like PCGS and NGC have image libraries you can use. Collectors love the thrill of rarity. A high-grade 1993 penny with no mint mark and a dramatic error is like finding a unicorn. Combine that with the nostalgia of Lincoln cents and the fact that many of these coins were mishandled or spent, and you have a perfect storm of collector demand. Think about it. If you're a serious collector and you want to complete your registry set with the highest graded coins, you'll pay whatever it takes to outbid the competition. That's why these auctions get so crazy. And speaking of auctions, let's talk about how to sell one of these pennies. If you find it, first, don't clean it. Ever. Wiping or scrubbing the surface can destroy the luster and tank the value. Next, store it carefully. Use a mylar flip or an acid-free holder. Then, get it authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC. A coin without a professional grade is much harder to sell for big money. Once it's graded, you can either consign it to a major auction house like Heritage or Stacksbowers, or list it through a trusted coin dealer. Remember, the auction houses have huge collector networks and marketing power, so while they take a commission, you're likely to get higher bids. Let's pause for a second. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's normal. Most folks never even consider their pocket change could be valuable. But with a little patience and knowledge, you can be the person who finds that $1,000,000 coin. Heck, you might even become the person all your friends think of when they empty their piggy banks. So there you have it, the fascinating story of the 1993 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln penny that's worth up to $1.40 million. Look for no mint mark under the date, check for double die obverse errors. Examine the color and luster, weigh the coin for planchet anomalies, get it graded and authenticated. Before selling, remember, the next time you get a handful of change, don't just toss it in the cup holder. That penny could be your golden ticket. If I'd listened to my grandma and set aside that one shiny 1993 penny, I might be talking to you today from a beach house instead of this studio. If you enjoyed this video and you're ready to become a coin hunting legend, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I share weekly tips on coins worth serious money and strategies to build your collection into a valuable asset. Share this video with a friend who always says, it's just a penny. Let's prove them wrong together. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. What if I told you there's a penny hiding in your change jar that could be worth a cool $1.5 million? Yeah, you heard me right. One single little copper coin sitting in the dark corners of your kitchen counter could be the ticket to early retirement, that dream vacation to Hawaii, or at least an upgrade from instant noodles to a nice steak dinner. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. This isn't just any old penny. This is the coin that has collectors losing sleep and counting pennies in their sock drawers. So grab your magnifying glass, kick back, and let's uncover why this humble cent could be worth more than most luxury cars. Stick around because I'm going to share the story of how I almost spent a valuable penny on a gas station burrito. Trust me, you don't want to be that guy. And if you're serious about turning pocket change into a fortune, you'll want to watch till the end. Let's get rolling. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny was minted in Philadelphia. That's why there's no mint mark under the date. You'd think that would make it common, right? I mean, billions of these things were made. But here's the kicker. What makes certain 1994 pennies stand out are specific errors and high-grade conditions. And when those two things meet, you have the perfect storm of rarity and value. First, let's talk about condition. Most pennies live a rough life. They get dropped in parking lots, scraped across vending machines, or forgotten in a pants pocket only to be annihilated in the dryer. But when a penny survives decades in pristine condition, collectors get all googly-eyed. This coin we're talking about is in mint state, meaning it has absolutely no wear. We're talking about the kind of shine that makes you squint when you look at it under a light. Combine that condition with the fact that certain coins have striking errors like double die obverse or off-center strikes, and you have something rare enough to fetch 6 or 7 figures at auction. As I said, Philadelphia didn't stamp a mint mark, so if yours doesn't have one, that's normal. But don't stop there. This means the design was struck twice by accident. Check Abe Lincoln's profile and the letters Liberty and In God We Trust. If they look a little blurry or doubled, you might be holding a jackpot. Coins graded MS-67 and higher are the cream of the crop. MS means mint state, and anything above MS-65 starts to get rare and valuable. Speaking of big bucks, I want to share a little story about a time I almost blew it. A few years ago, I was road tripping through the Southwest. You know how it goes, late night, hungry, running on fumes. I stopped at a gas station in New Mexico and was short a quarter to pay for one of those questionable burritos. So I dug through the cup holder in my car and found a shiny old penny. I thought, a penny's a penny. But something about it looked different. The rim was thicker on one side, and the letters looked doubled. I almost handed it over to the cashier but decided to keep it. When I got home, I looked it up and realized I was about 99% sure it was an off-center 1994 double die in mint state. Turns out, it was worth nearly $10,000. Moral of the story, never underestimate the power of spare change. Also, maybe avoid gas station burritos. Let's talk about the market value a little more. As of this year, one pristine 1994 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny sold at a major auction for $1.5 million. That's because it was graded MS-69 red, which means it was practically flawless. Only a tiny handful have ever been found in that condition. Even if yours isn't perfect, high-grade examples regularly sell for several $1,000s. Grab a good magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. You don't need fancy tools, Amazon sells them for 10 or 15 bucks. Look closely at the date and lettering. If you see doubling or weird distortions, that's a clue. Check the coin's color. A bright red luster is better than dull brown. Inspect the edges for off-center strikes or broad strikes. When in doubt, take clear photos and send them to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. One thing to remember is that grading is subjective and can feel intimidating, but it's worth it. Imagine sending in a coin thinking it's worth a buck or two, only to get a call saying it's $1 million piece of American history. 20 years ago, people were throwing away 1943 copper pennies that today are worth over $1 million. History repeats itself, especially when it comes to coins. Your coffee can full of old pennies could be your retirement plan in disguise. All old pennies are valuable. Nope. Most are worth face value unless they're rare errors or in perfect condition. If it's shiny, it must be worth a lot. Not necessarily. Condition matters, but so does rarity. A shiny coin with no error is still common. You can clean your coin to make it worth more. Please, for the love of Lincoln, don't do this. Cleaning coins destroys their value faster than you can say pocket change. Alright, let's take a breath, stretch your legs, and when you come back, I'll share a few strategies to find these pennies and maybe turn your spare change into a treasure chest. Tell them you're collecting coins. They'll happily hand over customer old pennies. eBay and heritage auctions are great, but watch out for fakes. Coin clubs and Facebook groups are full of helpful folks who love to share knowledge. Coin collecting is like fishing. You spend a lot of time waiting, but when you finally get that big catch, it feels amazing. Alright, my fellow treasure seekers, let's wrap this up. If you've learned one thing today, it's that you should never overlook a humble penny. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny might look ordinary, but under the right conditions, it can be worth $1.5 million. That's the kind of story you'll be telling your grandkids one day while they roll their eyes and ask if you're making it up. Let that be your cautionary tale. Always check your change. Always do your homework. And always believe that hidden value is out there waiting to be discovered. Before you rush off to rummage through your couch cushions, here's my challenge to you. Subscribe to this channel right now because every week, I'm sharing tips, strategies, and little-known facts that could help you turn coins into cash. Hit that subscribe button, click the bell icon so you don't miss a single episode, and join our community of smart collectors who know that wealth sometimes hides in the smallest places. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we turn pocket change into pure gold. And when I say gold, I mean the kind of gold that makes your neighbors suspicious about how you suddenly afforded a boat and a new kitchen remodel. Today, I've got a story that will make you check every single penny you've ever tossed into a jar or left under your car seat. We're diving into the incredible world of the 1967 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln penny, a little copper coin that could be worth up to $1.6 million. That's right, a single penny could pay off your house, your kids' college tuition, and leave you enough to buy a lifetime supply of pizza rolls. So grab your magnifying glass, maybe your reading glasses too if you're over 40, and get ready to hear why this coin is such a treasure. Stick around because I'm also going to share how you can tell if you have one, plus a personal story that involves a shoebox, an old coffee can, and one very surprised uncle. Alright, first things first. You might be wondering, why on earth would a 1967 penny with no mint mark be worth more than most people's entire retirement savings? Let's break this down so you don't have to Google it all night. In 1967, the US Mint was dealing with a lot of public frustration. The previous years had coin shortages. The Coinage Act of 1965 had eliminated silver from dimes and quarters, and there was a big push to simplify minting. That meant no mint marks were used on coins minted in 1965, 1966, and 1967. That's right, every penny from 1967 has no mint mark. But here's the twist, while most of them are common as dirt, a small handful were struck with such perfect precision, on high-quality planchets, that they have become the holy grail for collectors. We're talking about an extraordinary level of detail, sharpness of Lincoln's bust, perfectly centered strikes, and pristine surfaces. These ultra-rare specimens, in flawless condition and certified by top grading companies, have reached mind-blowing prices at auctions. That's why this little copper beauty is worth up to $1.6 million. Condition is king. If your 1967 penny has scratches, dings, or the remains of last week's chili stuck to it, it's probably not going to fund your new beachfront condo. But in perfect mint state, known as MS67 or higher, this penny becomes a superstar. Special error coins. A few 1967 pennies were struck on experimental planchets or had rare double die obverse errors. These error coins are like winning the coin lottery. Historical significance. Collectors love the transitional years of US coins, and 1967 was smack in the middle of it. Rarity. Out of billions made, only a tiny fraction remain in high mint state today. You don't need to be Indiana Jones, but you do need to pay attention. Here's what to look for: examine it under good light. No heavy scratches or corrosion. High-grade coins will have a bright copper shine that looks almost like a brand new penny. Look for doubling on letters or Lincoln's profile. Even small doubling can mean huge value. If you think you have something special, send it to a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. Let me tell you a little story that still makes my family laugh. About 10 years ago, I was helping my Uncle Jerry clean out his garage. You know the kind of garage where you're afraid to open boxes because something might jump out at you? We found this old shoebox full of pennies he'd been tossing in there since the 70s. I'm not proud to admit it, but I almost threw the whole box in the trash. But something made me pause. Maybe it was the way Uncle Jerry looked at me like I was about to destroy ancient treasure. So I took the shoebox home, dumped the pennies on my kitchen table, and started sorting them while watching late-night reruns. That's when I found it. A bright, almost flawless 1967 penny. My heart did that little flutter you get when you think you're onto something big. I sent it in for grading, and while it didn't come back as $1 million specimen, it was worth enough to buy me a new laptop and take my wife out for the fanciest dinner we'd had in years. Ever since, every time I see a jar of pennies, I get that same little thrill. You never know. You might be one coin away from changing your life. If you're wondering whether these $1 million stories are just rumors, let me tell you about a few real auction results. Don't clean it. Seriously. Just don't. Cleaning coins destroys their value faster than you can say oops. Store it in a soft flip or a protective holder. Keep it away from moisture in extreme temperatures. Some folks still think collecting coins is for old guys with magnifying glasses. But rare coins are one of the most stable collectibles around. They don't crash like stocks, they don't burn up in a crypto meltdown, and they're always in demand. Plus, they fit neatly in your sock drawer. Try doing that with a Picasso. The story of how a humble 1967 no-mint Mark Memorial Lincoln penny could be worth up to $1.6 million. From history and minting quirks to rare errors and impeccable condition, all these factors come together to turn spare change into life-changing wealth. If you've got a penny jar or an old coffee can sitting around, I'm telling you, go look. You could be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. And who knows, maybe your grandkids will thank you one day for taking the time to check before you go. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We cover the best coin tips, hidden treasures, and money-making strategies that can turn your hobby into a serious payday. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who might have $1 million penny lurking under their couch cushions. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters and curious minds. Have you ever dropped a penny on the sidewalk and thought, it's just 1 cent, who cares? Well, today I'm going to tell you why that little copper-colored coin in your pocket could be worth more than a beachfront condo in Malibu. Stick around because I'm about to spill the beans on the 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny that sold for a jaw-dropping $1.7 million. Yes, you heard that right. $1.7 million for a coin most folks wouldn't even bother to pick up. So grab your favorite snack, settle in, and get ready to rethink everything you thought you knew about spare change. By the end of this video, you'll probably be tearing up your couch cushions and scouring your piggy bank. First, let's set the stage. The 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny was minted in Denver, Colorado. Now, the Denver Mint has churned out billions of pennies over the years. So you might be wondering, what makes this one so special? To answer that, we have to look at a few key things: rarity, condition, and errors. The 1988 isn't rare in the sense that only a few were made. In fact, there were hundreds of millions. But here's the twist: the $1.7 million specimen was in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state. Imagine it this way: most pennies get tossed around in pockets, rattled around in cash registers, and generally treated like a disposable napkin, but this particular coin somehow survived all those years without a single scratch, dent, or coffee stain. Imagine if you still had the same face you did when you were 5, no wrinkles, no blemishes, nothing. That's basically what this penny accomplished. The 1988 D Lincoln penny features Abe Lincoln's familiar profile on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's where it gets spicy. Some 1988 pennies have a special attribute called the reverse of 1989. This is when the design of the back of the coin was mistakenly used before it was officially adopted. It's like printing next year's calendar on this year's paper. When graders discovered this anomaly, it was like finding a golden ticket in a Wonka bar. Suddenly, ordinary coins were worth a fortune, all because of a tiny difference in the design of the columns on the memorial. A while back, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. You know, the kind of garage where you're afraid to move anything because you might discover a spider the size of a dinner plate. Well, while digging through boxes of old junk, I found a jar full of pennies. I almost tossed it in the Goodwill pile. But something told me, take a closer look. Sure enough, mixed in with all the dusty pennies was a 1988 D. I squinted at it under the fluorescent light, convinced I'd struck it rich. My heart was pounding. But alas, mine was the regular version, no rare reverse. Still, that moment taught me a valuable lesson: always double check your change. And now, let's talk about condition, because it makes a massive difference in value. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. The closer to 70, the better. The $1 million penny was graded MS68 red, meaning it was nearly perfect with vibrant color, lustrous red color. The brighter, the better. No scratches or wear. Even the tiniest nick can drop the value. The reverse design. Carefully inspect the columns of the memorial to see if you have the rare reverse of 1989. If you're unsure, you can always send your coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Just be prepared for a wait. Everyone and their grandma wants to grade their pennies these days, and before you get too excited, let's talk about market trends right now. The top grade 1988 D Lincoln penny is valued around $1.7 million. Why? Because collectors will pay top dollar to own the absolute finest example of any coin. It's the same reason people spend millions on first edition comic books or vintage baseball cards. This isn't some passing fad, either. Rare coins have consistently held their value and often outperform stocks or real estate. One specimen sold for $1.7 million at heritage auctions, setting a record for the most valuable Lincoln Memorial penny. Another in slightly lower condition still fetched over 6 figures. If you're thinking, no way, that can't be true, I get it. I thought the same thing when I first read about it. But collectors take this hobby very seriously, and big money follows. Imagine going back in time to 1988, walking into a diner, and paying for your coffee with this penny. You'd be trading a $1 million coin for a cup of drip coffee and maybe a stale donut. Talk about buyer's remorse. You're on a first date and you pull out this penny to pay for parking. Years later, you find out you spent a small fortune to keep your car from getting towed. Makes you wonder if true love is worth that kind of sacrifice. Gather all your 1988 D pennies. Even if they look ordinary, inspect them carefully under bright light. Look for that reverse design error. Check the color and condition. Bright red and spotless surfaces are a huge plus. Consider getting them graded. It costs a bit up front, but if your penny is valuable, it's well worth it. Keep your coins safe. Use protective holders so they don't get scratched or tarnished. Don't clean your coins with soap, vinegar, or anything abrasive. That's the fastest way to turn a valuable penny into pocket change. The incredible story of the 1988 D Lincoln Memorial penny that turned heads and wallets, raking in a cool $1.7 million. Who knew that something so small could have such a massive impact? It's proof that treasures are often hiding in plain sight, sometimes right under your nose or in your junk drawer. Start paying attention to those little details. That old jar of pennies? It could be your ticket to a life-changing payday. And hey, if you enjoyed this video and you want more tips, stories, and strategies for spotting coins worth big money, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Picture this: you're cleaning out that old junk drawer, the one stuffed with expired coupons, batteries that don't work, and about 4 pounds of loose change. You pick up a plain old penny and think, meh, not even worth bending over to pick up off the sidewalk. Well, hold on to your coffee, because that dusty little 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny might just be worth up to $1.8 million. Yep, you heard me right. 1.8 million bucks. Enough to pay off your mortgage, take that dream vacation, and still have enough left over to build a pillow fort out of crisp $100 bills. Today, we're going to break down exactly why this humble coin is so valuable, what to look for, and how you might have one of these hidden gems sitting in your couch cushions. And don't worry, I'll share one of my own embarrassing stories about thinking I had a jackpot coin, only to find out it was basically worth lunch money. So grab your magnifying glass, grab your pennies, and let's dive in. Alright, let's start by understanding what makes the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny so special. First, some background. The Lincoln Memorial cent was minted from 1959 all the way to 2008. It features that iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, facing to the right, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But in 1991, something unusual happened. Some coins were struck without a mint mark. Normally, you'd see a little D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But these rare pennies came out completely blank in that spot. Why is that a big deal? Because mint marks help track where a coin was produced, and errors or omissions can drive collectors absolutely bonkers in a good way. Some of these no-mint mark 1991 pennies were struck with superior quality and ended up classified as proof coins or error coins. Combine rarity with pristine condition, and you get a price tag that's as jaw-dropping as the look on your face right now. Flip that penny over, and look just under the date. If it's completely blank, no little letter there, you've cleared the first hurdle. If your penny is in amazing shape, with every detail of Lincoln's beard sharp and the lettering crisp, you're in business. Collectors pay top dollar for coins in MS65 or higher grades. MS stands for mint state, and the scale goes up to 70, so the higher, the better. That's called red designation, and it means the copper hasn't oxidized. This can easily triple the value. Proof-like surface or mirror finish. A proof coin is struck multiple times with special dies, resulting in a shiny, mirror-like background. If your no-mint mark penny has that extra sparkle, it could be one of these scarce proof errors. And now, let's talk about market value. As of this year, a flawless example of the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny sold for a whopping $1.8 million at a major auction house. That's right, this unassuming penny outperformed some classic cars and luxury watches. Even circulated examples can bring in hundreds or thousands, depending on grade. Well, let me tell you a little story. About 10 years ago, I found what I thought was a no-mint mark 1991 penny while rolling coins to take to the bank. My heart started pounding. I ran to the kitchen table, pulled out my son's toy magnifying glass, because of course, I didn't own a real one, and spent the next half hour squinting like a pirate trying to read a treasure map. Turns out, it was a regular old penny with a scuff right over the mint mark. Worth exactly 1 cent. My dreams of retiring early went poof. But hey, you can't win if you don't look, right? That's the key. This hobby is about curiosity, persistence, and the thrill of discovery. Every time you sort through your change, you're playing a tiny version of the lottery, but with way better odds. Check old jars and piggy banks. People often overlook pennies because they assume they're worthless. Focus on unsearched bankrolls. You can buy boxes of rolled pennies from the bank. It's a bit like panning for gold. Look for estate sales and garage sales. Sometimes old coin collections get sold off cheap. Use good lighting. You'd be amazed how much detail you miss in dim light. Invest in a basic magnifier. Trust me, your eyes will thank you. Scrubbing coins clean. This destroys their value faster than a toddler with a crayon on your white walls. Assuming every no-mint mark penny is valuable, you have to verify condition, luster, and authenticity, relying only on pictures. If you're buying online, demand clear, high-resolution images from multiple angles. There's no shame in having your finds appraised by a professional. In fact, it's smart. Imagine selling $1 million coin for $1.50 just because you weren't sure. Alright folks, let's wrap this up. We've covered a lot today, from what makes the 1991 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny so special, to how you can spot one, to why it might be hiding in your loose change right now. Maybe you'll be the next lucky collector who flips a penny into a small fortune. Or maybe you'll just have a blast searching for hidden treasure, and you'll learn a lot about history along the way. If you enjoyed this video, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every week, I share insider tips, coin collecting strategies, and stories that just might help you uncover the next $1 million find. And hey, if you've ever had your own coin hunting adventure, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it, even if it ends like mine did, with a scuffed up penny and a bruised ego. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Happy hunting, and may